He said it was a good thing to. I always. Yeah. Also, they did.
What? Good. Good evening, everyone. We're about to begin the meeting. I remind everyone that this meeting is live streamed and recorded and available on the internet by visiting the Town of Parry Sound website. Visit www.parrysound.ca. Prior to the open session, there was a closed meeting. It was moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor McCann. That pursuant to section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 C25 as amended, Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound moved to a special meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to B, personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, 1, applicants to a board, 2, harassment of staff by a member of the public, C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land for municipal or local board purposes, 1, proposed disposition of land, 2, request to purchase town land, E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, 1, harassment of staff by a member of the public, and 2, automated speed enforcement. K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. 1, negotiations with respect to proposed disposition of land, and 2, automated speed enforcement. And that meeting was held. And I'd like to remind everyone that we're on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people under the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850 and the waterways traveled by the Métis of this region. And may I have a mover and seconder for the agenda, please? Councillor McCann and Councillor Keith. Any prioritization or additions to the agenda? No. All in favor of accepting tonight's agenda? That's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Nope. Okay. May I have a mover and seconder for the minutes? Councillor McDonald, Councillor Boleski, that the minutes from the regular council meeting held September 16th, 2025 be approved as circulated. Any discussion or comments on those meetings? All in favor then? And that's carried. Questions of staff. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I've had a couple questions. This is from Mr. Cairns regarding the progress of the construction on Parry Sound Road. If we can maybe get an update for the public's sake on that one.
Certainly. Thank you. Through your worship. The project is generally on schedule. It is progressing. I know one of the most impactful things has been the closure of Parry Sound Road and Great North Road. The challenge we ran into there was a historic set of drawings showed a different situation in the ground that we designed for. When the intention was to use an abandoned pipeline or an abandoned forest main trench to run new piping through. When the excavation happened, that abandoned trench is not located where it should have been. So we ran into bedrock. And the additional complicating factor was when Enbridge or Union Gas installed gas services at years ago, they used directional boring methods, which tend to follow the contour of the bedrock. So when the excavation happened, there's a gas main laying on top of the bedrock that needs to be removed to facilitate the pipe installation. So that means that blasting methods cannot be used. So it's a very slow process. They're drilling holes and using a hydraulic breaker to open the trenches that are necessary to facilitate the new infrastructure installation. So we are hopeful that we will be able to reopen the road long before the end of October, but the agreed to timeframe involved the closure to the end of October. So at this point, the rest of the works is on schedule. There are works in Birch and Champaign and to the lift station itself that are ongoing within that construction zone as well.
Great, thank you. And I guess while we're at it, maybe could we get an update on the Wood Street construction as well?
Through your worship. So Wood Street is a bit of a unique situation. We are working through some processes right now. The town, through our contract administrator, suspended the previous contractor's ability to continue with their contract. So we are working to have new forces come in to ensure that the infrastructure that needs to be closed up before winter on the Wooden Isabella section is done before winter. That's actively happening right now. So we're hopeful that within the next week or so, we'll see some flurry of activity there, as well as finishing what's referred to as Part B in that contract, which is the work within the railway limits as well. So the intention is to have both of those sections closed up for the winter.
Councillor McCann?
Just on the heels of the last question there, Mr. Kearns, with suspending this previous contractor, has this seriously delayed the completion of this project, or do you feel that we'll be able to sort of maintain the momentum?
Through your worship, so there's no denying the project's been significantly delayed. Substantial completion of the project was to occur by August 15th of this past summer. So now our goal is to ensure that we can progress as quickly as possible with as few further interruptions to everybody as possible.
Thank you.
Any further questions, staff? Councillor Balevsky?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Mr. Kearns. The town itself has been doing a lot of work on the Elizabeth Street job, straightening it out. I understand, or I believe I've seen trucks in there with water, gravel and equipment and stuff. Is there much of that going on to try and straighten this out? Many hours, how many hours approximately do you think we put in it?
Through your worship, so on Wooden Isabella, we did go in to deal with some dust issues because there was no active contractor on the site. That is all being tracked. I don't have those numbers with me right now. And certainly they will be compiled and applied towards the processes that we're working through. We went in to ensure that the road was safe, that the traffic control measures remain in place on a daily basis, and that we're dealing with dust and those sorts of issues. So staff have been applying calcium on a regular basis to ensure that we're not adversely impacting the folks in the area as well. But we are tracking all of that.
Great, thank you, Your Worship.
Yep, thank you. Anything further? No. Correspondence, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor McGarvey. We have 8 items of correspondence this evening. The first is from Federal Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, Tim Hodgson. It's a response to correspondence from the town in support of a letter from FNOM, or the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, regarding the importance of securing a new softwood lumber agreement with the United States. Minister Hodgson writes that he assures that the Canada-US trade remains a top priority, and the federal government is working to resolve the ongoing softwood lumber dispute. He acknowledges the recent and significant increases in US duties and the impact on companies. Global Affairs Canada, which is the department that coordinates and leads Canada's legal challenges of US duties on softwood lumber, this ministry is working with Global Affairs Canada to continue dialogue with the provinces, territories, and stakeholders to ensure that Canada remains ready to engage in negotiations. And lastly, Minister Hodgson does mention that Prime Minister Carney announced a $1.25 billion for new measures to help the softwood lumber industry transform and remain competitive. The second letter is from Federal Minister Chrystia Freeland, Minister of Trade and Internal Trade, Minister of Transport and Internal Trade, and she is also writing in response to correspondence from the town back in August regarding the proposed expansion of highways 11 and 17 in Northern Ontario using the 2+1 highway model. Minister Freeland writes that there is legislation, One Canadian Economy, an act to enact the Free Trade and Labor Mobility in Canada Act, and the Building Canada Act will remove federal barriers to internal trade and labor mobility and advance nation building projects. So she's writing regarding the economic benefits of some of this legislation. The third letter is from Solicitor General Michael Kersner of the province of Ontario, writing regarding the review of the OPP cost recovery model. So there is now regulatory amendments to Ontario Regulation 413-23, amount payable by municipalities for policing from OPP under the Community Safety and Policing Act of 2019. These amendments are in effect and will inform the 2026 annual billing statement. There are two main components. Firstly, there is an 11% cap established on the increase in policing cost owed by municipalities for the 2026 calendar compared to the 2025. And secondly, a new discounts table will be established in the regulation and will apply to the 2026 billing year going forward. The fourth item is from the Township of the Archipelago, and the fifth item is from the Township of, or the Municipality of Whitestone, and both are related to the Parry Sound JK to grade 12 school or Parry Sound Mega School. The particular items from the Township of the Archipelago include resolving that a responsible school board administration be developed that's accountable to parents, teachers, and students, that areas under its jurisdiction receive decisions made through support of the local communities, and that an existing public school be developed in McDougall Township to ease the pressure on the new mega school. And the municipality of Whitestone has a similar resolution. The sixth item is from the Near North District School Board, and it is in response to a resolution from the town of Parry Sound and a letter sent to the Near North School Board with concerns about the progress. Timothy Graves, the executive superintendent of the board, writes that since the time council passed the resolution that was sent, and in collaboration with the town building department and fire department, they've conducted thorough safety assessments to ensure the facility met all standards for a healthy and safe learning environment. And following those assessments, the board received confirmation on September 9th that students and staff could return to the school. And this letter was sent on September 26th. The seventh letter is from Bill Mardame from the Gardens Retirement Development. He writes with interest in continued interest in acquiring the surplus right-of-way adjacent to the Gardens of Parry Sound. He attached drawings to show current 2 phases of development that have been completed, plus the phase 3 with 10-row bungalows on the land and a further 10 townhouses shown as phase 4. And he's offering $300,000 for the right-of-way lands. The last item is from Dave Williams, a member of the DBA, or a business owner in the downtown business area. And it's very small here. He's writing to formally raise concerns regarding the Witches Walk event scheduled in Parry Sound, which is being organized and promoted in part by the DBA and the town. He's concerned on religious reasons for the walk. And there is an online petition regarding this matter that's been created, and that link is contained within the letter. And Mr. Williams requests that a formal response come from the DBA and Town Council regarding this matter. And those are the items of correspondence.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Next on the agenda are deputations. Our first deputation tonight is from Sean Megacy, Waterfront, with regard to the Waterfront Advisory Committee. Welcome.
I'm not very familiar with from the
Oh, next table.
I'm here to, thank you. Okay, like, can I, what, hand those down? I'm here to ask for preliminary permission to pursue, putting a, skating rink down at the town dock, by the band stage. The document there will show you where I wanted to, where I'm proposing to put it in. It's down in the parking lot, across from the band stage, in between the lightings to ensure that there's sufficient lighting. I wanted to try, I was being really ambitious, and I wanted to try to do it over the entire winter time. I've since then looked into a few other options, whether we can flood it. You'll notice there that I've got rink operations and helpful hints, as well as the outdoor safety checklists and a duty schedule. Volunteers wise, I don't think that I would be able to maintain it over the winter or the entire winter. I've got two options that I've been looking at. One is flooding it and maintaining it for over the family day weekend, for the week. The other one is I'm talking with a company down south called Hot Shot. They do a synthetic skating rink, so it's completely maintainable. It doesn't have to worry about the weather and stuff like that. I've got several companies that are willing to donate to be able to do it. To do it for a month, it was $17,000 to do the synthetic. To do it for a week, I'm negotiating with him to be between $5,000 and $7,000. I've raised the $5,000 to be able to do it that way. However, we could look at doing it, flooding it, and maintaining it for the week. I do have enough volunteers to be able to do that. I'm just looking for the preliminary approval to be able to pursue and see if I can do it. I've been in talks with April McNamara to ensure the safety. It would not have rink boards, no sticks allowed, and just simply for recreational.
All right, well, we've got this package or whatever. I think probably the thing to do would be direction from council to have staff bring a direction back or whatever so that we can work on it. So Councillor Borneman?
And you pretty much took the words out of my mouth. I'm wondering, refer them to April and have an MOU developed and bring it back here for approval.
Okay, seconder? Councillor McCann? All in favor then? That's carried. Okay, so we'll get it back here as fast as we can.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Our next deputation is Stephen Mall regarding the tennis club. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you. I'm here representing tennis players, former tennis club members, 200 people who signed a list saying they would appreciate me moving forward with this. I was asked to come and make a presentation. I appreciate the opportunity to do so. Tennis used to be thriving in Parry Sound. We had 5 courts in the 1970s, 1980s. Some people here took lessons from my father and I at that time. Some people competed against people around here. It's a sport that you can take as a recreational sport or a competitive sport. It's for people of all ages. Last summer, I was hitting with a 4-year-old, and 2 days later playing doubles with a 91-year-old. It's the people of that wide age range are interested in the sport. So the 5 courts that we had, there were 3 at the high school and 2 at the Bobby Orr Center. The 3 at the high school were the tennis club but it was on the board property. And when the Near North Board took over and decided they weren't going to replace those courts when the mega school went in, that immediately was a problem, cut out 3 courts. And I know that's not the town's problem, but the town could be the solution by putting in more courts somewhere that give people a chance to play. And I think the fact they were at the high school were helpful because high school kids could play as well. And there was a high school tennis team. I was a member for 5 years and certainly enjoyed it. Many people were members of that team for 5 years. And without the courts there, and with only one downtown now, there is no school tennis team. So they don't get tennis in phys ed class anymore either. And if there was some way that we could find a spot to put tennis courts that were close enough to the school that the team could actually exist again, and then competing with Bracebridge and Gravenhurst and Huntsville again would be a great opportunity for people. I've had local residents of many age groups asking for lessons with their kids, for their grandkids, for themselves. And I think that opportunity is hard to do with one court in a town when there's a lot of people wanting to play. Especially in the summer where the summer residents are around. And if you show up to that one court at the Bobby Orr, there may be somebody playing and you might have to wait half an hour and then another group's coming in while we were going to play as well. And there's a lot of overlapping people want to use the same court at the same time. So the solution to me would be more courts. I mean, ideally 5 courts in town or 6 courts if we had a club and we had a recreational municipal courts as well. Perfect. I think the need for courts that have a safe surrounding and a good surface, like a proper tennis surface, I think is important as well. And I know there are grants out there. There are grants from several organizations, Tennis Canada for one, other organizations, Northern Ontario organization that covers a vast majority of the cost of building tennis courts. So a lot of the money comes from grants for those. Just thinking about where, like on my own thinking, where would be a logical place that we could do this? And I don't know the logistics of who owns what property and what, but the old Y is already a flat ground where the ball diamond is. There's already electricity there for lighting. It's not in a neighborhood area that would bother, that the sound would bother residents. And to me, that just looking at it, you could easily put 4 or 5 tennis courts there. You could put 4 pickleball courts there. It would be sort of an ideal location that people could get to, and the high school kids could use it as well. Other locations, I don't know. At this point, I don't know what the old St. Joe's Hospital site that's been sitting as an eyesore in town for a long time, and I don't know the logistics about that. But it'd be if we fill in the hole that's there, it'd be, to me, that would seem like an ideal central location for a big racket sports center. I know the Badminton Club is also looking for places to do things, and the racket sports are a bit neglected right now. But tennis has certainly come back since I retired and moved back to town. I've just noticed the growing numbers of people who want to play the sport. And I hope it's something that can be pursued. I think the biggest thing that also came up talking to people about it was people were remembering back to when they were kids and they used to bike to the tennis courts and play for hours. And that was one of the joys that they had. And then they still like the sport today as an adult. And I think that opportunity doesn't exist very much for kids now. And I think it might be time to try and offer that again. Anyway, thank you very much for hearing my thoughts on it, and hopefully we can make some progress on getting some tennis facilities.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
A question. The tennis club paid for the tennis courts at the high school, did they not?
I believe there were grants that were Wintario, is it, or Latte or somebody?
But it came through the tennis club.
Through the tennis club. That wasn't the town. That wasn't municipal. It was
No.
the tennis club. No. And then it was on the board property, which was okay when it was West Prairie Sound Board, but things changed.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm wondering if council would entertain some direction to contact the Near North District School Board with regard to whether they're going to have any space that could be utilized, whatever, on the property that they do have there. And maybe we also reach out to the Municipal Services Board as part of, some a recreational alternative. Okay. So make sure we copy them on it as well. So, Councilman McCann?
Actually, I had that same idea. Actually, have you tried contacting the Near North School Board as far as Near North District School Board, as far as a request for space and property?
I have not, sorry. Kevin is the club president from recent years when there was a club existing, and he's done a lot of research on this. I don't, could he answer this question? I haven't personally reached out. No.
Well, I certainly support the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Can you come to the microphone then so the public can hear what maybe your response was?
Yeah, so I mean, we've overseen. Yeah, so the tennis club was made aware like years ago that high school was going to be rebuilt. So I was in contact with Gay Smiley for years, asking like when it was going to happen, and again letting them know that we were requesting with the new build that we would appreciate having the same level of recreation facilities provided for the school that were there previously. You know, if you're going to build a new school, you shouldn't be taking away opportunities for children. You should be making them better. So I had lots of email correspondence and phone calls with Gay. And the response was always no, that there's no plan for putting in any tennis facilities in the plan. And you see that with the plan that they put forward. They did not have any plan for outdoor tennis courts with the new facility. So I don't know where you would get if you reached out to them again, but they were made aware of it for multiple years leading up to their planning before they even had a plan that we were requesting that and hoping that would happen.
I think that's where we're gonna have to start this process all over again. So
Yeah, and I would just say too that the issue with rebuilding on school board property is down the road you are handcuffed by them. The courts that were there for years, we were trying to improve them. But any Ontario government grants or anything, the moment they know that it's on school board property, you're just denied. So the best course would be to have the courts located on public land where we could then be in control of the future of them. And being on public land, then you're allowed to control access. You would be able to have them available to everybody publicly. And that would be the ideal thing. I'll just mention too, within, like the one thing that stands out to me too is within the entire district of Parry Sound, like the one court at the Bobby Orr is the only publicly available court for play, which to me is a dire underservice for a community of our size when you look at neighboring towns and what they do provide. So that would be my main thing is if we could build on public land, that would be the best for the future to be able to build on that and to be able to provide the best services for the community going forward.
I think we've got a number of things we have to look at, right? Okay. So, you're moving that?
Yeah, I would move it. And I think the idea of approaching the school board one more time is a good idea, but if we can direct staff to look at other possibilities, I'm sure there are some opportunities there to be explored.
Council Borneman?
So if memory serves me correctly, there was some money in this year's budget to resurface the one court at the arena. The work didn't take place because the price came in substantially higher than what had been budgeted for. I agree with this gentleman. School board, I'm not even sure they're still speaking to people in West Parry Sound. To start with, and secondly, that would probably be the last place I would invest public money at this point in time. I agree entirely that we need to do an internal search and figure out where we're going to put it on property that we control, so we don't go through this same thing again of spending dollars only to have what were reasonable facilities ripped up and taken away. So I would ask that we send this to our people to do a little bit of an internal search and come back with some idea. And I think both these gentlemen have pointed out that it probably shouldn't just be restricted to tennis courts, badminton and pickleball. We've heard from the pickleball people loud and clear that, and basketball, court sports in general, like, while we're at it, let's go whole hog here. Like, let's figure out what the plan is going forward and move in that direction.
I was thinking more with regard to the school board because it was public funds and obviously grant funds that built the courts that were there. Yes, it was by the grace that they're allowing them to be on that property, but surely to goodness, they should be able to support something like this as well, given that students would be able to use it in the future as well, but yeah. No, I know.
And can I just mention
Doesn't
as well,
apply.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and we have had previous discussions as well with Parks and Rec, like with April, and the biggest issue that we've always run into is available public land. So that's why I think, like in our deputation, we kind of pinpointed some new opportunities that are there with public land. So I think there's a lack of public recreational space within the town boundary to begin with. So I think I would just urge, you know, I looked at the public or the plan, and the property where the Y was is still designated as open public space. So I would urge that to be kept at that so that we have space available for future recreation facilities. I think it's important to have that as we're developing and growing larger, more housing, but also to remember that it's important to have public park and space available too.
Any other questions from council? No. Seconder for Councilor McDonald. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. So we'll begin a process of looking in to see what we can do.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thanks. All right, those were our deputations for tonight. It's reports. Now we'll start with Councillor Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councilors, staff, and the public. My report, I attended the Honey Festival at the Kinsman Park, and certainly there was a good turnout there, and that was really great to see. Also, the powwow at Wasauksing, and that certainly was quite interesting. There was a lot of dancing there, and it certainly was an opportunity to again to move forward in relationships with Indigenous people. I also was involved. We had and it's on the agenda tonight about the community engagement and asset management survey. And I did take part in going one-on-one in speaking to people to gather information, because it was on the computer, but not all people are, shall we say, computer literate. Also, I attended the raising of the flag for the National Truth and Reconciliation Day, and also I welcomed the Hanseatic Inspiration Ship that came to Parry Sound, and it certainly was a great opportunity to see so many people, 224 passengers, come into our community and partake of experiences. I also attended the dedication at the Seguin Parkette in respect to residential school victims, and that was very traumatic experience for those victims, and it certainly gave one a lot to think about, and sadness, and hope that something like these things never happen again. I also attended the ribbon cutting ceremony for Parry Sound Corporate Corners and Minuteman, as well as I attended the Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting. And in that meeting, there were a number of issues, and I'm sure Councillor Ashford, I won't hog the limelight here, will also provide some information on that. But I think what was really important to me were the discussions that went on, and the discussions were in reference to the traffic lights, for example, at Seguin intersection and James Street there. And as a result, in respect to the audible crossing signals, needed to be a little more consistent in their announcement and audible noise. And there was a recommendation from the committee regarding that matter, and hoping that council will consider looking into it further. And the recommendation from the committee, and therefore I am requesting direction that staff would investigate the audible crossing signals to be more consistent in their announcement, audible noise, and where possible, have the street name announced also, and include in that an estimate in reference to the capital cost for the 2026 budget. I have written out the request for the direction, and I certainly can send that to the clerk who's here in a moment. And there was a second recommendation, which again, from the committee that a majority supported. Matter of fact, everybody supported. It was requesting the direction that staff investigate that all local parks have accessible entrances and exits into the park, so that any individual can utilize the newly erected accessible playground equipment, and that an estimate be included in the capital cost for the 2026 budget. The reason, as mentioned, the committee appreciates all the effort that was done in reference to the parks. However, the bottom line being that, for example, Mission Park would be one example, that there still needs to be, it would appear, more to be done so it could really be utilized by all people. And so I'm going to send that right this minute to the clerk, if all goes well for me, because I have written it out. Somehow doesn't want to recognize something. Oh, just wait a second, we'll fix that up, I'm hoping. With my little finger, I will go the other way. One more X.
Are you planning on this for the next meeting?
If we can have that for the next meeting, that would be really great. And I've sent the recommendation to her requesting that.
Okay.
That would be great. And that's my report. Thank you.
Good. Thanks. Councillor Ashford?
Certainly a busy last couple weeks, as if people planned, knowing I would be back to school for 2 weeks there, and really piled it on. But the first one is Accessibility Committee. I thank Councillor Keith for speaking so eloquently, because it was there was a few of the awkward parts where we think maybe we could work as a community to iron some things out for those who are deserving equal access to things. And there was quite a bit of discussion, as Councillor Keith said, around the parks, and a lot of positive things were very positive along those things. But Councillor Keith and I both had attended a conference or a session in a conference in Ottawa that as they kind of discussed how infrastructure and planning goes, being compliant doesn't necessarily mean that it can be accessible to all. And as people kind of shared their stories, I think it was quite touching as well, that people share their stories of different situations where this is a accessible, compliant space in all different scenarios, but they were actually not able to access it. or the means that was put in place for them to access it was kind of so clumsy and so awkward that it becomes almost degrading for them to have to go through the process in order to. So there's a few different ideas, and the one that Councillor Keith highlight we can discuss next week as well. But the sounds I didn't quite understand. There's different sounds that tell you if you're crossing north and south as opposed to east west, and all kinds of different things to help those who have low visibility to be able to kind of navigate the different situations. And my grandmother-in-law was low visibility, and she often would keep me up to date on these different things. But she had somebody that had to come and walk her around Parry Sound, and she had to tell by the textures on the walls in different places on the outside of buildings where she was. So this kind of stuff she would have loved to have the ability to kind of go up to a crossing and know where she can walk without getting putting herself at risk. So I think it's really worthwhile. And so a few of the examples that gave is like one crossing says it in English, what to do, and then says it in French, and then says it in English, right? So it kind of alter. And then another one, it just says it in English, and then another, the wording might be different, and then another, it's you're hearing it from different directions. So there's a lot of inconsistency. So when you're approaching the different things, if there was the same where all of these devices are compliant, some maybe more than others in some ways, but if there was a way to make them all very similar, then that would take out the kind of guesswork and the preparation work required that you will be able to just walk about town and know what to expect when you get to each spot. So when we discuss that, I think that'll be a great opportunity for us to kind of get into that a little further. Also, there's an industrial park meeting, and it went quite well, and we had some of these situations to get all of the different financial institutions together. I need some people in the audience that have done this for a living and are on different boards that to get all the audited financial statements together and approved can be a task. And that was something that we really nailed there at that last meeting. So it was pretty great to get everything sorted. You're trying to create jobs and provide places for industry to invest, but there's so much work that kind of goes into that. That was a pretty successful meeting to see at the end. I also attended the flag raising for Truth and Reconciliation, and it was a little bit more touching this year, I found, than in the past, in the sense that we had community members from Wissahickon attending and talking, and had that kind of interaction, and quite a few different members of the community there. So it was a nice little experience. And then perhaps the most kind of important thing for me, which wasn't a council committee, but I had family up visiting this past weekend, an early Thanksgiving, and we spent most of the day at Tower Hill, and it was an exceptional experience to be up there. We had kids as young as 3 and grandpa 72, and trying to get up and down that tower and going all through Periwinkle Garden, exploring all the flowers, all the fun in the museum. And they had it all set up in there with different bingo cards when you're trying to find things in the train exhibit. It was just a real kind of wonderful opportunity with such good weather. Stop by Mission Park, and the Trestle pop-up market really kind of finished off the day. So it was just a real great example how all these different spots in Parry Sound really do make it wonderful for people from out of town, and for myself and my family. It was really great. And by the end of it, everyone's talking about coming up to the on the 25th for the weekend there to go to the Witches Walk. Very excited. And as we went about, places were packed. Right, there are people everywhere. I asked the museum staff if it's this busy in the summer, and they said even busier. But it just seemed we couldn't, no parking anywhere kind of thing. And that's what people are talking about. So I think that's great for our community and our businesses and our families to be at a nice kind of fun, family friendly activity on the 25th there. It's the best day of the year, I'd say. Thank you.
Thank you. Your grandmother-in-law, Mrs. McDowell, was a driving force behind getting the audible signals, both here downtown and up near the high school. So she worked with the CIBC or CNIB, sorry, CNIB, and would have actual information days which I thought were really, really good, so that people could actually learn more about how the blind navigated and that sort of thing, and different challenges that they faced. So yeah, she did a great job. Yeah. Counselor Bileski.
Thank you, your worship. I haven't been as busy as the previous councillors, but on September the 24th, we had an in-camera meeting for Belvedere. It was to address some internal issues. On September the 26th, I attended the Westbury Sound District Municipal Association fall meeting. It was held in Orville, in the community center. There was over 100 plus attendees there from different municipalities, from Callender and Parry Township and all the surrounding townships here. There was an all-day event. Some excellent speakers put on some really good demonstrations. One of them that impressed me was a gentleman explaining how AI can be so helpful. A lot of municipalities are getting to use it. He said how much money they saved by having AI answer the telephone for a lot of town complaints. It can, people phone or they want information, and that can be made through AI. They had $8 it cost for a human to answer the phone per call, and AI is 25 cents. So it's quite a change. Anyway, good presentations, with an excellent meal. Served by a local resident here, a mate who cooked the meal. And that's my report.
Thank you. Counselor McCann.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow councilors, staff, and public. Kind of a light report this time around. While I was not in attendance, I'm pleased to advise that noon on Friday, the 26th of September, the Westbury Sound District Museum hosted a low-key recognition event in response to the Ontario Trillium Foundation's funding to create a research library at the museum. MPP Graydon Smith was on hand to say a few words along with the museum's manager, Nadine Hammond. On a sadder note, I'd like to take this opportunity to pass along condolences to the family of Vic Bernatti. He passed away at his home on September 18th. He was 86 and he leaves behind his wife, Judy, of 64 years, a relationship that began as a high school romance. He, of course, is survived by his children, Corey and Gina, an extended family. Born in Depot Harbor, Vic was the youngest of 8 siblings, and I understand he is the last of the family who reigned from Depot Harbor. His obituary credits Vic with finesse in baseball, basketball, talented singer, trumpet player, drummer, and a man of great faith as well, who was instrumental in establishing or helping to establish the local council of the Knights of Columbus. His funeral was held last week. And you might recall earlier this year on March 4th, that congratulations were in order to Parry Sound's Sully Burrows after being chosen as one of 8 semifinalists in a Canadian competition to find the next big country star. Well, the top of the country competition, which is hosted by the Canadian Country Music Association and SiriusXM Canada. Then on April 15th, I reported that the 3 finalists were named, and Sully was one of them. And they all earned exclusive mentorship opportunities and opportunities to perform at major events across the country. And it all culminated at the Country Music Week 2025 just last month in Kelowna, BC. So Sully didn't pick up the grand prize, but he was one of the 2 second prize winners, and he takes home $10,000 for that. The loss is certainly not something the loss didn't slow Sully down. The Country Music Association of Ontario announced on September 15th that he was selected as Artist of the Month. And that agency had already named him the Emerging Artist of the Year earlier this year. So he's making a name for himself and getting lots of exposure. I understand from his family he is currently in Nashville, and that's the place to be if you're doing country. He's got a debut EP coming out, and he's doing more performing and writing. And finally, my wife and I, Saturday evening, attended the Solitary Man tribute to Neil Diamond at the Stocky Center. So fortunate to have such a facility to go and enjoy such talent. The man's name is Will Chalmers. He's been doing this for 30 years. He's a multi-award winner. And you could close your eyes and think you were listening to the real Neil Diamond. We really enjoyed ourselves. It was well attended. And it was a nice evening out at the Stocky Center. And that is my report.
Thank you. Counselor Borneman?
Well, I'm gonna be even briefer. The Blue Jays are on at 8 o'clock, your worship. Yeah, September 18th, Counselor Ashford reported on the industrial park meeting. And the Belvedere special meeting on the 24th was reported by Counselor Bolesky. I did attend some of the Truth and Reconciliation services September 30th. And well, Halloween Witches Walk might be the best day of the year to some. I think with the endless summer that we've had through October 7th, the waterfront in Parry Sound has remained incredibly busy through Miss Denman and others activities really attractive and laid out well for visitors to our community. I think people who don't get down there often because it's too busy should take the opportunity while the weather still is on our side to have a wander around and see what's happening down there. And that's my report for this evening.
Thank you. Counselor McDonald?
Thank you, worship. I'll be quick. Oh, I lost it now. Sorry. Oh. On Saturday the 18th, I attended the Industrial Park Board meeting. September the 24th, I attended the live filming. CHCH Morning Live was in Parry Sound, filming at various restaurant locations for their Fall in Love with Parry Sound campaign, spearheaded by Explorer's Edge, Great Canadian Wilderness. Stops included Henry's, Legend Spirits, DeSalvo's, and Log Cabin. They're targeting Southern Ontario day trippers and tourists to come up here and enjoy Parry Sound in the fall. And we certainly haven't disappointed so far with the weather and the leaves. September 30th, I attended the dedication of the All Children Matter Memorial Stone at the Seguin Parquet. Very emotional ceremony and powerful. And yeah, it was very well attended as well. October 1st, I attended as well the grand opening of Minuteman Press and Parry Sound Corporate Corner, the ribbon cutting and grand opening. And I noticed today, to Councillor Borneman's point about the waterfront, that's the last couple of days of it putting up the Remembrance Day banners to line the streets. So I think that's a very nice touch, and I applaud the town for doing that. That's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you. Council staff and public, September 19th was the Chamber of Commerce Gala and Award Ceremony at the Stocky Center. Well attended, nice event, and congratulations to the Executive Director McDonald for putting together a great evening, and congratulations to the award winners. September 22nd, there was a photo shoot at the new Tamarack North Rec Center to commemorate the agreement between the West Parry Sound Municipal Services Board and the YMCA. September 24th was a public health meeting that I attended virtually. September 25th and 26th, I attended AMO Committee of the Whole and AMO Board meetings in Toronto. Fair bit of discussion around speed cameras, housing, codes of conduct, and recycling, amongst other things. September 29th was the flag raising for the survivors flag at the township office. And I'd like to thank Liz Taylor, head counselor in Wissahickon, and everyone else that came out for attending. September 30th at the Parquet near Seguin Street Bridge, there was a has been mentioned, the dedication of a monument to commemorate the survivors and those that didn't survive residential schools. And yes, it was a very moving event. October 1st, I attended the ribbon cutting ceremony for 2 new businesses in downtown, as Councillor McDonald mentioned, Minuteman Press and Parry Sound Corporate Center. And I believe that these 2 great businesses will really add to the downtown core and bringing people in. October 2nd, I met with members of the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, otherwise known as FNOM. I presented Danny Whalen, outgoing president, with a certificate and letter from council for his 15 years with the FNOM board and 8 years as president. Danny put a great deal of time and effort into the job and was a great person to work with. The new president is Dave Pludra. First vice is Maggie Horsfield, Deputy Mayor of North Bay, and second vice is Lynn Watson, Mayor of Echo Bay. October 3rd at 3:30, I attended a brief meeting to go over a panel discussion that I'll be on for the Ontario Nonprofit Housing Conference, which will be held on October 30th at the Sheraton Center. And then October 3rd at 6 p.m., I attended a gathering in Market Square Park called Take Back the Night. Gathering was a representation to take a stand against gender violence. I brought greetings from the town and would like to thank the Violence Against Women Coordinating Committee for their efforts in organizing the event. It hasn't been done for a few years, but I'm glad that it was back and I'm grateful it was held. So thank you to all of those that came out for the walk and those that put the event together. So it was great. And that's my report. So first item is 7.1. It's an item that was moved from closed, moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor McDonald, that the council hereby appoints Sharon Rainey to the Parry Sound Public Library Board for a term ending November 14th, 2026. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item 911. Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Borneman, that council approve the 2025 Municipal Assistance Program allocations per Attachment 1, Schedule A. And I'm going to read them out. So for the Parry Sound area CB and DC, $2,443. The Business Center Nipissing Parry Sound, $2,579. The 295 McPherson Squadron, $1,164. Festival of the Sound, $3,714. The GB Mindu Gami Biosphere, $1,700. Parry Sound Youth Basketball, $1,857. Parry Sound District EMS Toy Drive, $764. Parry Sound Nature Club, $592. Parry Sound Forest School, $964. And Parry Sound Stingers Basketball, $1,107. And that total grant allocation was $16,884. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor McDonald, that council authorized the single source of purchase, wiring, and installation of sound equipment at the Bobby Orr Community Center ice surface from Mark Webster Productions in the amount of $66,577.60 pre-tax. Discussion? Councillor McDonald, and then Councillor Borneman, and then Councillor Pulaski.
Thank you, Worship. I guess, is Ms. McNamara online or?
She is.
Oh, Ms. McNamara, could we get maybe an idea as to a timeline for the install on this sound system?
Through your worship, first step is council approval. Once council does approve this purchase, all orders will be made and the ball will be put into motion.
Okay. Councilor McDonald? Okay.
So really no rough idea as to when the system could be installed until they get the contract for the sound system?
Correct. Well, right now, we're waiting for council to authorize this purchase. Once council does make this authorization, staff will be in contact with the production company, and we'll put the wheels in motion from there. Parts do need to be ordered. Everything does need to come in. So the first step is approval.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Borneman?
Ms. McNamara, I don't often support sole sourcing purchases. Can you explain to the public why we're doing it this way and not through the normal procurement process?
Through your worship, this is sole sourcing is part of the regular procurement process. It is a circumstantial purchase, meaning we are going with a reputable provider. This provider works on the Stocky Center sound system. We know what we're getting into. They have proven results, and we know they are very responsive. Quality of product is paramount. We understand the issue, the gap that we're trying to bridge, what needs to be accomplished, and this company gets it. They have proven experience in the industry, not only in arenas but in the theater systems as well.
Okay. Councilor Valesky?
Thank you. Through you, your worship. I agree with Councilor Borneman. I'm not a real fan of single sourcing. You've said good things about this company, but is there no other companies that could work on this that have the same credentials?
At this point, putting this out to RFP would further delay the project. Potentially there are other companies, but we're getting into a bunch of unknowns. What happened with the current sound system over 25 years ago, we got into a bunch of unknowns, and that contributed to the situation we're in today, meaning the wires that were installed many years ago were underserviced for the existing equipment. What was installed at that time didn't meet the criteria of what was needed to be installed. The municipality was set up for failure. This ensures that moving forward, that's not going to happen. So I'd like to make that clear.
Thank you. And I read that in your report, how the issue that needs to be done. But an RFP doesn't take that long, does it? And is this something that's just come up? Like you're just made aware of the wires are bad now? You didn't know a month or so ago that we could get started on this method? I'm just a little concerned with single sourcing when there is other people around that can do it. If it's a delay of a few weeks, if there's a saving to the town by delaying it and getting other things, and it possibly could be the source that you have now for the same price, but I'm just wondering if we've gone every way we can to get this done less expensive.
I'd like to identify that the quote that has come in is well within the established capital budget for this project to occur. And comparing apples to apples for a sound system and speccing that all out is opening a very large can of worms. Frankly, I'm not confident that that's necessarily the direction to go in this case.
I thank you very much. I'll be honest, I can't support as the way it's laid out now. Thank you.
Do you want Mr. Kearns to go next? Yes. Yeah, Mr. Kearns.
Thank you, your worship. I just wanted to add, our procurement bylaw does speak to sole sourcing or single sourcing. And one of the considerations in this has to do with service as well, which is one of the defined criteria in sole sourcing for us. The experience of the staff at the Stocky Center with this particular supplier, being able to service the sound system and maintain it in an operable and functional manner was part of the discussion in looking at sole sourcing with as Ms. McNamara mentioned, a reputable and known supplier. So that is part of the consideration that staff had in recommending a sole source purchase in this case.
Counselor Keith?
Yes, thank you. I have a comment and a question for Ms. McNamara. I do believe that quality service, quality workmanship, quality efficiency of getting the job done, and if there is an issue, having service brought in and it happening quickly so that things are not down for any period of time is really valuable to us. But I am also wondering, is this company a Canadian company? Can you clarify that, please?
Through your worship, yes, they are located in Orillia, Ontario.
Good enough. Thank you.
Counselor McCann?
Thank you, Ms. McNamara. I know that there's a lot of detail that goes into this. Just for the public's benefit, and I'm just looking at some of the stuff that is being replaced. You mentioned wiring and such. Can you just sort of give a ballpark idea of the kind of equipment that's being brought in? Are we talking amplifiers, number of speakers, and are we talking microphones, mixers, that sort of thing? What have we got here for our money? And I know that the installation requires a lot of labor, and I guess that's obviously involved or part of this cost. But can you expand on the equipment that we're getting?
Absolutely. Through your worship, we are receiving a brand new AV tower for the office. And so that's the brains. That's a central control system for the entire facility. From there, we are receiving wiring that will take you out to the ice surface, and we're receiving new speaker components for the ice surface as well as the stands area. All this stuff is state of the art, meaning that it is Bluetooth compatible. We can work this off our phones. Staff will now be able to make all call systems to alert to the public for mass evacuations and things like that. It's an essential upgrade needed for the recreation, for the community center.
Thank you. So in addition, then, when you talk about state of the art, how much wireless installation, let me rephrase myself. How much equipment will depend on it's not coming out. How much wiring will we save as a result of using wireless equipment, if that is indeed the case?
So through your worship, Councillor McCann, I think you misunderstood. So no, we do have to rewire the system from the AV tower out into the ice surface as well as the ice surface stands.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Pulaski?
Thank you, your worship. I'm not disagreeing with the fact that it needs done, or that the company that you've chosen is a great company. I'm just finding it difficult to believe that there isn't another company in Canada that can give us the same thing. If we put, I know we put $70,000 in it, but that's just an estimate that, we could have put 80 or 90,000 in it. And then if these people are under, well, let's give it to them. I don't agree with that. I'd like to see a competitive bid. If the competitors aren't as good as this one, can't supply what you're asking for, then definitely give it to this company. When you get into these single source bids, I just think we're limiting our options by going this way. I just can't see how long it would take. We've been this long with it not working right. Why can't we go a little bit longer, get another bid, another couple of bids on it, and go with what, And I'm no doubt that this is a reputable company. There's no doubt at all that they can do exactly what you want, that it's a good product. But I hate to see public money spent without checking all options of saving a little bit. Thank you, Your Worship.
Maybe just one thing that Councillor Pulaski might not be aware of, or is the fact that this company does work at the Stocky Center as well. So that could be a savings for us as well. Because we already are working with that company, we're familiar with them. And if there are issues or whatever, we know we already have a rapport with them. And they're going to be familiar with both systems. And both systems are used on a regular basis. So I think this, even though it is sole sourced, it may turn out to be an advantage for the community as well. We'll find out. So, Councillor Ashford, and then I'm calling the vote.
Sorry, just to add to the mayor's comments. I think the word that's in the report that is connecting with me on this, on why sole source is more appropriate than not in this case, is compatibility, and in dealing compatibility with our current operations at the Stocky. And when you end up with multiple systems with multiple technical requirements in the same organization, you end up having to start to have staff be able to manage all those different kinds of things. Or in this case, we are just saying it's the same kind of, you only got to have staff understand things once. And if staff are in trouble, you can have one person can come over and help the other person and things like that, as opposed to having everybody on multiple systems. That's what seemed to make sense to me with this particular thing, was just the compatibility situation. And we're like I asked to borrow a wireless microphone once from the Stocky, and they don't have any. Like, and that seems like pretty basic thing. So like we're not talking, like, I just mean like we're really tight on how we do things with this. So I don't think adding in another system would help. If anything, maybe we could have a wireless mic that might work for both systems and we could carry it back and forth when we need it, or something along those lines. Thank you.
Okay, I'm calling the vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? One opposed. Carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and second by Councillor Ashford that staff be directed to proceed with the asset management community engagement survey as described in the August 12th, 2025 report to council.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Yes.
This is just a brief overview summary of the community engagement survey that we ran through the month of September. It ended September 30th, was closed off the first thing in the morning, October 1st. We received 469 surveys in total. 316 of those are Parry Sound residents. The rest are in the fringe communities that use our facilities, our town, our infrastructure. On a positive side, 83 of the participants want to join focus groups and be more involved. 49 have offered to volunteer their services, so we'll be carrying that forward. And 214 of them want to enter our draw, which is great. Common themes we saw, this is just a very high level. Common themes we saw was a very strong community pride and appreciation for all the local amenities. The residents value the nature, the waterfront. There was constant talk about how beautiful the bay is and the green spaces. And positive recognition for staff, their professionalism and their responsiveness. And I have a couple quotes I'd like to share. This town has such great potential. One survey respondent said, "I've always found town staff very helpful, courteous, and professional." And another said, "I'm grateful to council and staff who make this a wonderful place to live." So on that note, I'd like to remind everyone of the town hall open house, Monday, September the 20th at 7 o'clock PM at the Bob Orr Community Center, where all the findings of the asset management community engagement survey will be provided. And we'll also be having our live draws for those that opted in to participate in the draws. And that's my report. If there's any questions. Oh,
October 20th at
Monday, Monday's October 20th, yes, at 7 PM
Okay, and at,
at the Bobby Orr
That's
Community Center.
okay.
And I would like to just make a special note and thank Councillor Keith for going out and getting handwritten to our vulnerable community. She received some, she assisted with helping them fill in the surveys. So
Nice.
it was, it was a really nice thing to do. So thank you for that.
Okay, Councillor McDonald. Oh, Councillor Keith, you?
Well, you just answered my question. I just wanted to remind her it was October, not September.
October,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So, Councillor McDonald.
Okay, thank you, Worship. I mean, I'd just like to, first of all, comment, that it's great to have that feedback. And also, it's great to hear so many residents are putting their names forward, to volunteer. People often say, you know, why don't we have more events and this and that? And, it's definitely volunteers that make everything happen and all the special events and things that happen in town. So, definitely encourage those that do want to volunteer to get out there because it does make a huge difference.
Anyone else? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Connor. Okay, moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Ashford. Whereas years of research confirms the benefits of high quality early learning and childcare for young children's intellectual, emotional, social, and physical development and later life outcomes. And whereas whereas childcare promotes the well-being of children and responds to the needs of families and the broader community by supporting quality of life so that citizens can fully participate in and contribute to economic and social life of their community. And whereas trained and knowledgeable registered early childhood educators are the key to quality in early years and childcare programs, in licensed childcare, early on programs, child life programs, and full day kindergarten. Whereas registered early childhood educators and childcare workers will be vital to the success of the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system. Therefore, be it resolved that October 21st, 2025 be designated the 25th Annual Childcare Worker and Early Childhood Educator Appreciation Day in recognition of the education, dedication, and commitment of childcare workers to children, their families, and the quality of life of the community. Comments? All in favor? Oh, Councillor Ashford, do you have a comment?
I certainly spoken in favor of this in a lot of previous years, but this year's the first year I've been assigned to teach kindergarten. And my teaching partner is an early childhood educator. And her name's Miss Irish, and I cannot speak positively enough about the effect she has in that classroom. She makes it a wonderful spot for kids to be every day and to learn. And I have to say we're a month and a week in, and I'm a better teacher from knowing her and from being there with her, and a bit of a better person too. So I really think this is great that QB pushes this, brings this to us, and we bring it forward every year and pass it, because I don't think enough good things can be said for those little 3 and 4 year olds coming into school for the first time and having a new CE there, making sure they have a wonderful experience.
Okay. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Boleski and seconded by Councillor Ashford, whereas council has received a request from the Parry Sound Downtown Business Association for exemption from the noise regulations bylaw 2009-5301 per attached Schedule A. Whereas no concerns have been raised by town staff with respect to the request for the exemption. Now therefore the council Corporation of Town of Parry Sound does hereby grant the applicant the requested exemption from the noise regulations bylaw 2009-5301 for the annual Witches Walk to be held on Saturday, October 25th from 5 to 8 p.m. per application attached to Schedule A. Any discussion? Councillor Keith?
Yes, I have a question. Well, I'm not sure, but I'm thinking, would it be for April Denman? In any event, the question is about, is this event a family event? And I'm also wondering, I realize we can't predict the future, but how many participants were involved in the event last year? I'm just wondering if this is growing or appears to be growing or dying.
Thank you. So, this is a family event for sure. Lots of people come out with their kids and they're dressed up. Last year they guessed there was a couple of hundred people that participated. It's really hard when we have free events to count. We have tried some drones, but it's not very effective.
So just for clarification, are you receiving the impression that this year there's a lot of interest for it too? That's where I'm going.
We have received a lot more phone calls this year than we have in the past. So we are anticipating that the event should bring out more families, yes.
Councillor Ashford?
I kind of mentioned the interest that my family from out of town's experienced, but also just I've been there last year, and it's a wonderful extension of Halloween. That I'm not a huge Halloween fan, but my kids, they just love that Halloween. They're trying to dress up in the stuff all the time, and it's a great opportunity to get a second costume. So my 3-year-old, she has her heart set on dressing as a llama this year, but she also wants to dress as a cotton ball. And she says, I don't know why, she says that cotton balls are scary and that it will really be great at the Witches Walk. So it's a second opportunity for her to get a costume together and really kind of imagine and develop those skills. But I did want to also put one quick correction to Councilor Borneman, who said, I said the Witches Walk's the best day of the year. I said October 25th is the best day of the year, which... Yeah, sorry. It also happens to be my birthday that day. So that kind of adds in a little bit to the discussion.
Could I also add, since I was put on the spot, that this is also a fundraiser for Harvest Share. So everybody that comes out, please do bring a donation to Harvest Share. Their shelves will, I'm sure, be depleted quite a bit after Thanksgiving weekend. So October 25th is a good opportunity to fill them back up.
Good point. Yeah. Anything further? All in favor? None opposed. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Ashford, that bylaw number 2025-7535 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with His Majesty the King in the right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery and procurement for electronic death registration be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Keith, second by Councillor Ashford, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you. I can appreciate going electronic. It seems to be any of these things with stats, that's the way to go. But the one question I did have was it was talking about the human error. And I'm wondering in the last 5 years, how much human error has there been? Like, is there some sort of calculation of that? Or is it just assumption that humans make mistakes? But it still seems to me even inputting can make mistakes. Is there any stats on that?
Member Garvey? So through you, I can answer that. I don't have a tabulation of human error. I'll give you an example, though, of something that happens with some frequency. With the year changeover, say from 2024 to 2025, you'll have people who forget that it's 2025 and they'll still write 2024. They'll write that could be a staff person here at the office. It could be me. or one of the others that work on that. And when we write that date, if we say 2024, January 6th, and the death happened in December, the Office of the Registrar General will send that back and say it's the wrong date, because of course you can't sign a death registration before a person has died. So that's a type of human error that's fairly common with the changeover of the year. And in an electronic system, that would be flagged. That would be flagged like, are you sure this is 2024? Because the death has just happened in December 2024, and how can you be signing it in January 2024?
Councilor McCann?
I'm going to pass.
Okay, all right. Anything further? All in favor then? And that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Boleski and second by Councillor Ashford that bylaw number 2025-7536 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 1996-3845, the sale of real property policy and procedure for the relief from the requirements to designate land as surplus and provide public notice be considered as read a first time. All in favor? And it's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Boleski and second by Councillor Ashford that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Councillor McCann?
Perhaps Ms. Johnson could, for the benefit of the public, explain what's happening here.
Through you, Mayor McGarvey. Our disposal of property bylaw, also called the sale of real property policy and procedure, is something that staff is currently working on to bring a revised policy forward. But in the meantime, there is a situation that we are seeing with a property that could be acquired for the sole purpose of resale. The procedure currently calls for a resolution to declare property surplus. It requires a notice in the paper. This policy is old enough that it still talks about a print newspaper. We've adapted that, of course. And it calls for a survey and an appraisal. So what we're proposing is in the certain circumstances where the property that's acquired is simply for resale. That's the sole purpose of it, that it's not required to provide a resolution or bylaw declaring the property surplus or publishing notice in the paper. That's the purpose of this, of the two waiving requirements that this bylaw proposes to amend the policy.
Thank you.
Councillor Keith, you had your hand up and then Councillor.
I think the clerk better explained it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Ashford?
I do have concern with this in the sense that I think we have efficiency able to be found, but at the same time, I think that this if property is being purchased by the town, that it should still become before council to make a decision. So I don't know, I think even just a wording change that, this is when you talk about it being purchased for resale, this kind of an internal transaction that's not really in a certain sense, connected to kind of a public process of town property that the town currently owns and has. But at the same time, I think it really does open the door that who's to say what resale solely for resale means, right? And then it becomes kind of a much less public process where like I'd be okay with something like it if it comes to council for resolution instead of having to declare it or these kind of things, that there's some sort of public bringing it to council's level, that then the public would be aware it came to council, it was at a council meeting, and then could move forward without having much delay, even if, if it was something that a matter of, like, we have a council meeting every 2 weeks, if we needed to have a special meeting in a week just to say, we're cool, let's go, I think that would take away some risk in the short term until this whole bylaw is revised.
Mr. Harris?
Through the mayor, just a point of clarification. If this step in the process is addressed the way Rebecca's spoken to it, the sale of any municipal property has to come back to council. I mean, that we're not bypassing council, we're changing a notification step. And I think I can say that the Municipal Services Board that oversees their new recreation center, the way that's set up, they follow all the administrative policies, procurement practices, et cetera, that the town has in place, because we're providing the administrative support. So this bylaw affects how they will dispose of the YMCA property at 36 Smith Crescent. And we're trying to fast track that process so that we can get it on the market. Right now the board has a line of credit, a construction loan, so trying to move things quickly and also see what interest there is before winter. If people need to visit the site, visit the building and do their inspection. So the board, in this case, the board just got ownership of the property late September. They're going to be moving to sell it. So, and when they acquired it, it was strictly for the purposes of resale. That's sort of a real life example of the situation where you might not need to post notice and call it surplus because it was clearly acquired just to resell the property.
Councillor Keith?
Thank you. So just for clarification, what I'm understanding is this is just a change in notification process, but we are still having transparency because in general, matters would still come before council. So it's not like things are being sold and I, as a councillor, said, I had no idea. So it's not like that. It's transparent still. Thank you.
Councillor Borneman?
Mr. Harris, is this a one-off, the property that we're speaking of, that would have to be dealt in this manner before the bylaw is reviewed?
Through the mayor, it's the only situation that I'm currently aware of. Since my time with the town, almost 6 years, there are 2 properties that the town has acquired for eventual resale that potentially could fall under this. So there's only the 1 property that the board is dealing with and 2 other properties in town. So it's very uncommon, but expedites the process. And particularly if just through the mayor, if there was, for those properties that the town does own, if there was someone that if there were an interested party, it could actually expedite that process.
Follow up?
Well, I'm wondering so Councillor Ashford rests easier tonight. Could we identify that we're doing this on this particular basis? And if the other 2 were to fall into that category in the near future, have them brought back in the same way and forego the process that's outlined?
Through the mayor, I mean, that's the immediate concern. So as long as the clerk doesn't have any concerns with rewording the wording to make this a very specific situation, a very specific exemption to the requirement for notice. Otherwise, I don't think there's an issue.
This is policy and we're amending policy. So typically I think it would be better if it sort of is the waiving is one that is can conform in a policy nature. However, I can see that if this is one-off, and that's truly what we're looking at, we can amend within the bylaw to reference a specific property.
So we're gonna make this a one-off instead of policy moving forward. That would,
Yes.
well, then that means an amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need someone to make an amendment and second that amendment. Councillor Ashford?
I'd be open to a wording suggestion from the clerk.
That's fine, but you're moving it. We need a seconder. Okay, Councillor McCann. All right, so discussion around the amendment. Councillor Keith looks very concerned, so.
Yes, I am concerned because it seemed to me that this came tonight on the agenda because because what was being looked at was a policy change. And I thought, when you change a policy, you change that policy. And now I'm hearing that, oh, well, maybe we just want a policy change for these two issues and no others. And I'm puzzled why we would be doing that, because when we say that we're looking at two right now, who's to say in 2 years' time, there won't be another situation? So I don't understand why we would be doing it this way. I think if you're going to change policy, then you agree to change and you concur you're changing policy, then you change policy. So I'm having difficulty with that. Thanks.
Councillor McCann?
Is there a sense of urgency at this particular time?
There is for the MSB board, yes. But I have to agree with Councillor Keith that this doesn't really affect things that much moving forward. But it allows the municipality a little more flexibility or determination, especially if you're working with another client. That maybe there may be situations, and there have been situations, where only the municipality could get the property, but it fronted on their property. And that property would then enhance the development that they could actually do. So in situations like that, which can occur, okay, this would make it an extreme advantage. Councillor Beleski.
Just before you go ahead, I'm sorry, just a point of order then. I'm sorry, I just
Councillor McCann has
wasn't finished yet. I wanted to ask you then, so if we're obliging Councillor Keith's comment, is the amendment that I just seconded futile at this point, or
well, we're going to
should
go
I be
through.
rescinding?
We're going to go through the process or whatever with regard to the amendment.
This would
and
be a one-off.
this would change the bylaw to make it a one-off. But if it's defeated, then the bylaw can stand as it will be part of our policy
Okay,
moving forward.
I think you've lost me. I understand, you're talking about a
So if you
bylaw and
support,
policy.
if you support it, this bylaw is good just for this one item. If you defeat the amendment, then we can use it as a tool in other cases moving forward. Councillor Beleski.
I'm really confused here, I guess. I don't know why we're amending this. This action's not gonna change that much. The deal is going to come in front of this council for approval anyway. Is it not?
No,
Doesn't have to?
no. It'll come to the MSB board.
I am confused. No, go ahead, I'll try and follow.
Councillor Ashford.
My sole concern is that if a property in the town that the town purchases or currently owns is sold,
that before it is sold, that comes before council for approval. What I heard was that this does not change that. That it still comes to council before approval. So in my mind, my concern is satisfied. As a general policy change, because when I read it, when it said the corporation, it seemed to me that it meant that staff could dispose of purchase and dispose of a property without council knowing. So mine is satisfied without any amendment. That if that's the current understanding, or that's the understanding of this bylaw, then I'm satisfied at that point myself. So I'd be willing to withdraw the amendment suggestion if that's reasonable to my seconder.
Is that reasonable to the seconder?
Reasonable.
Is your button on the side in?
Yeah.
Hello,
Oh,
there it is. Yeah, okay.
okay.
It's reasonable.
Okay, it's
I can,
all right. So to the clerk, the amendment is withdrawn,
Yes.
okay? Is there any further discussion on this bylaw? All in favor then? Carried, unopposed. Moved by Counselor Borneman, seconded by Counselor McDonald. That bylaw number 2025-7537 being a bylaw to authorize a one-year extension of the agreement with the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, MPAC, for the leasing of the office space at the Town of Parry Sound Municipal Office be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Counselor McDonald, second by Counselor Borneman, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered read a second and third time passed, signed and sealed. Mr. Beaumont has been sitting very patiently at the back, very quietly. Do you have anything you want to add, Mr. Beaumont? And Mr. Beaumont, when you're done, I'll get you to turn that microphone off because I think it's kind of interfering with the other microphones here. Thank you.
Through you, your worship, I'd just like to thank yourself and Mr. Harris for your lobbying at certain events to senior staff from MPAC. We know it was a challenge to get them to agree to this. I reached out to them back February, March, because I knew the contract was coming up this year. Didn't get a response back till June that they were looking into it. Late August, we finally got word that they were going to extend for 1 year. And so we've been pushing for them to get them this contract. I think it's a good deal for us. It gives us MPAC a place to meet people here in town. And we won't get the same services we've had for the last 10 years with Paul being here. It's a sad, I was the envy of most of my colleagues, knowing that I could run upstairs and talk to MPAC face to face where they don't have that, that privilege to do. So the way it's going to work now, I just met with MPAC last week. They still don't know what's going to happen. MPAC employees now will have to spend, I think I was told 50 hours a month starting in January in an office. So it can be anywhere. Ann Haynes, who's a regional manager for Southwestern Ontario, who lives here in Parry Sound, will use this office when she has to, as she did last week. As far as local representation, we still don't know who's going to be looking after the town. I believe someone out of the Gravenhurst office for sure. We're hoping that they'll be here at least 2 days a week, periodically, throughout the year. My manager that I deal with, she will be coming up from East Gwillimbury once a month. She thinks right now to work out of this office to give us representation. So I hope council will see fit to do this 1 year extension with MPAC. And as in my report says, they have a tenant option for another year. So hopefully we can convince them to keep the office open here. Because Paul did do a good job with just not the town Perry Sound, but other residents. Like he would meet people from Carling, Point of Barrel, save them a trip to Gravenhurst. MPAC's always said that, well, they could go to either the property to meet the people, but a lot of people don't want MPAC showing up on their property. They'd rather come here and discuss things here. It worked out well for the last 10 years. It was great. So yeah, hopefully the council will pass this and we'll have them here for at least another year.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this can be a longer relationship. You know that I will continue to be knocking on their door or whatever, having those conversations to try and get them here longer. You know, if when the province actually decides to do the new assessment, which is long overdue, that is going to create a lot of work for MPAC employees. It's going to create a lot of questions from the general public as well. So, and they will want to meet somebody face to face, not over a phone. So, I think this office is going to be extremely important to not only people in the town of Parry Sound, but West Parry Sound and the district of Parry Sound as well. So,
100%.
okay, anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you for your work on this. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2025-7538, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor McCann, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meeting. The next meeting of council of the town of Parry Sound scheduled for Tuesday, October 21st at 7 p.m. The meeting will be held at the town of Parry Sound Council Chambers at 52 Seguin Street. Entrance via Gibson Street and will be live streamed and recorded. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Council meeting schedule, notices of special council meetings, complete agendas and minutes, and instructions on accessing live streamed and recorded council meetings are all posted on the town's website. Go to www.parrysound.ca and use the search bar. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.